Om Jnanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chaksurunmilitanyena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhayevacha Patitanam Pavanhebhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So we're continuing our study of the Srimad Bhagavatam, and today we're on Canto 9, Chapter 18. I'm jumping Chapter 17 because Chapter 17 is just simply a listing of different kings coming in line, one after the other, and there are no purports, so there's really nothing to discuss. So we'll go on to chapter 18. King Yayati regains his youth. So Yayati is a famous incident in the Srimad Bhagavatam. We'll be hearing about Yayati and his problems which he had, but at the same time he was successful. He was able to liberate himself from the material world. So the chapter begins, first of all, tells a story about Sukadeva Goswami is telling about King Nahusa. There's one king and Sukadeva Goswami says, as the embodied soul has 6 senses, King Nahusa had 6 sons. So 6 senses mean including the mind. So he had 6 sons, but he got in trouble. He was given a big post. He was given the post of Indra, and somehow he got attracted to Indra's wife, and he was cursed. He was cursed to become a python. So, in the absence of Nahusa, because Nahusa was a king, so in his absence, the post of king was offered to his son, his eldest son, Yati. But Yati did not accept the post, although it was offered by his father. He did not accept the post because he understood that taking that post will make it difficult for self-realization. Entering the post of king or head of the government, one cannot understand the meaning of self-realization. So in a parallel sense, we can also see, taking up administrative duties in the Krishna consciousness movement can also be a challenge. Becoming a manager, leading a yatra, it can make it very difficult to one's own spiritual practice. Yaduraj Krishna Prabhu is a temple president. He's in charge of a yatra there in Malaysia. How do you find it, Yaduraj Prabhu? Does it disturb your spiritual practice, having to manage all the time?
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Yes, Maharaj, of course. It's tough, but somehow things are going on, Maharaj, by the mercy of Maharaj, Guru Maharaj and Prabhupada. Somehow things are going on. So even though it's tough, but somehow we are managing, and we can see it's all the mercy of Prabhupada and Guru Maharaj.
Of course, you don't have a lot of full-time devotees there, do you? Do you have any full-time devotees there?
No, Maharaj, all our congregation are grahasa.
Yes, and they're all, like they have their own jobs or something, right?
Yes, Maharaj.
You're not paying any of them to do puja or cooking.
No, Maharaj, all are volunteer, unless we have some special cutting grass, painting, and that one we hire, we pay salary to devotee.
Yeah. Some particular duties which are not like every day.
Yes.
So you have to arrange these things. But certainly, Prabhupada was appreciative of devotees who took on that responsibility to manage a temple and to take care of the devotees. And sometimes Prabhupada would send somebody in to be the temple president, and sometimes the devotees would send him out. They'd say, no, we don't want him. And Prabhupada wouldn't like that, you know. There were some cases like that where Prabhupada had sent someone there with the intention that this devotee will manage. And when he came there, the devotees said, no, we don't want him. We don't like him. We don't want him to be the manager. And they refused to accept him. And sometimes there would be conflicts about who should be the temple president. And there would be different factions. It'd be like politics, you know, parties competing for power. So that kind of situation is also not very good. Anyway, self-realization is the important thing. That's what our real purpose should be in coming to Krishna consciousness. That we want to declare war on the material energy. We want to actually become self-realized, become liberated souls. But in the course of being a devotee, then we get involved in many other different duties. Just like in material life, the post of a king or the head of a government, you could understand the head of a government, oh my goodness, or the king. So many different functions they have to attend. And then they have to be very presentable and very diplomatic. And they have to host different people. Just like in a temple, some people will come and visit people from another temple. You have to host them. You have to take care of them. And so similarly, a king, other kings, other politicians will come and visit, and they have to arrange functions and take care of them and host them nicely. So it's all politics. So this son of Nahusa, he didn't want to do this. He didn't want to take that kind of position. He didn't want to accept that responsibility. He understood it would make self-realization very difficult. So in the purport, Prabhupada explains that self-realization is really the goal of human life. And in order to achieve self-realization, first we have to come to the mode of goodness. And we have to develop Brahminical qualities. But for Kshatriyas, that's difficult. Kshatriyas, they have, their nature is different from that of a Brahmana. Kshatriya's nature is to get wealth and to have sense gratification. Kshatriyas can do things like eating, they can eat meat, they can gamble, they can drink, and they can have illicit sex. It's not considered sinful for them because they're Kshatriya, they're differently situated. Of course, now in Kali Yuga, we cannot apply these principles. There are no real Kshatriyas today. And if people do these things, then it's sinful. So someone who's serious about spiritual life, he won't be interested, he won't be attracted by material opulence. Rather, he will like to reduce he would like to live in a frugal manner and accept only the basic needs of life. And that is more healthy for spiritual realization. But if you become a king, or if you become leader of the government, then you have to accept so many different facilities. Political life, one loses a chance for human perfection. But Prabhupada argues, still one can attain the highest perfection if we hear Srimad Bhagavatam. Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. And Maharaj Parikshit took it like that. Although he was a king and he was involved in politics, but at the end of life, he could give up everything and just sit and hear Srimad Bhagavatam. And in this way, he attained perfection. So it doesn't matter what is our position. If we hear the signs of Krishna, Kiba Vipra Kiba Nasi Sudra Keni Nai, Ye Krishna Tadvavet, say Guru Hai. If you know the signs of Krishna, then you can become a spiritual master. And the same way, if we regularly hear Srimad Bhagavatam, we can be freed from the bondage of material life. So, regularly hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, of course this is our program, and our temples, we have every day Bhagavatam classes. It's a very basic part of our Krishna consciousness movement. So everyone has an opportunity to hear Srimad Bhagavatam. And for devotees, we encourage them to make a study. Now, Prabhupada, in the beginning, he brought the Bhagavatam with him to America. He'd printed the first 3 volumes, the first canto was there, he'd been printed. And so he brought it with him. I came to the movement in 1971. Prabhupada went to America in 1966. He brought the first canto with him. The second canto was printed initially, it was printed in volumes. Each chapter, one chapter was a volume. So they had just started to print the second canto when I became a devotee. And we were getting one volume at a time, one chapter at a time. And Prabhupada wanted to see that we were reading. And it was about 1971 when Prabhupada instituted that everywhere we should have the Bhagavatam class and read one sloka and chant it and discuss it. Previously to that, we would just sit and read the Bhagavatam. We would just read and pass the book around, and we would read, and often devotees didn't know anything what we were reading about, what was being told. But Prabhupada saw that, and he saw this is not very good, and he instituted proper study, systematic study, one verse at a time. All right, so we hear about Nahusha. Nahusha was the father of Yayati. So he committed an offense against Indra's wife, and she complained to Agastya, and the Brahmanas cursed Nahusa to fall from the heavenly planets, and he degraded to the status of a python. Consequently, Yayati became the king. So you can see how powerful the Brahmanas were, that they could curse people to die, and here in this particular case they cursed this Nahusa to become a python. That's a very powerful curse to put someone into that low species of life. So Yayati had this encounter with Devayani, who was the daughter of Sukracharya. And she became the wife of Yayati. But it was unusual, because Yayati is a Kshatriya, is a king, and Devayani is the daughter of Sukracharya. She's the daughter of a Brahmana. So the Vedic culture requires that the daughters of a Brahmana should be married to someone from the Brahmana caste, someone from the Brahmana community. But in this particular case, somehow it happened that Yayati got married to Devayani. And there's also, in Srimad Bhagavatam, in relation to Romaharshan, we hear about Romaharshan being killed by Lord Balaram. And Lord Balaram describes that this Romaharshan, actually he's not really a Brahmana, because he was born of a mixed marriage. Mixed marriage, meaning father was a Kshatriya, mother was daughter of a Brahmana. So he wasn't really a Brahmana. And he, not only that, but he was not humble, and he didn't have control over his mind, and he didn't have the proper culture which was actually expected for someone to sit on the Vyasasana, and he did not, of course, offer his respects to Lord Balaram when Lord Balaram came into the assembly. So Lord Balaram considered that he'd come into this, his mission in this world was paritranaya sadhunam vinaschaya chaduskritam. So he considered that this Ramaharshan should be killed, that he was not actually the right person to be sitting on the Vyasasan and speaking to all the sages in Naimisharanya. So here we have Yayati married to Sukracharya's daughter. So it's an interesting. How did it happen? Of course, it's told that there were how that Devayani had a friend named Sharmista, who was the daughter of Vrishaparva. So they were two friends, two young ladies, and so the chapter goes on and describes how Lord Shiva came through the forest, and the two girls, and maybe other girls were also there, I don't know, but they were bathing in the river, and they were bathing naked, and Lord Shiva happened to come there. So they immediately rushed to cover their bodies. Interesting to note that if it was Shukadeva Goswami coming, and when Shukadeva Goswami came past in a similar situation, when there were young girls bathing, the young girls didn't bother about it. And they didn't care to cover their bodies. And Sukadeva Goswami he wasn't disturbed at all. He simply went past. But when Srila Vyasadeva came, then the girls immediately rushed to cover their bodies. And Shukadeva was surprised, why you do like this? Vyasadeva was surprised. Vyasadeva was surprised that you didn't worry about my son. Why are you worried about me? I'm an older man. I'm not going to harm you young girls. I thought you'd be more worried about my son, but you didn't worry about him. And the ladies said, no, we thought he is transcendentally situated. He's not of this world. But you're in the world. Vyasadeva was, he had his wife, he'd got children. He was somewhat more involved. He was not so transcendentally situated as Sukadeva Goswami. So Lord Shiva came by, and Lord Shiva, I don't know, maybe usually he's with his wife. Wherever he goes, he will have Parvati with him. But it didn't mention, but anyway, he came there, and the girls wanted to cover their bodies, and somehow by mistake, Sharmista took the cloth of Devayani, and Devayani became offended, and she insults Sharmista. So we can see something of the nature, the temperamental nature of young women, particularly when they're in the bodily concept. That Devayani is the daughter of Sukracharya. So she's thinking, my father's a Brahmana, we're Brahmanas. And Sharmista, her family are Kshatriya, her father is a ruler. And she's got a similar kind of Kshatriya nature. The daughter will have the qualities like the father. Father's a king, so the daughter will be like the father. And she's, quite bold and powerful and strong. And by mistake, she took the cloth of Devayani, and Devayani insults her. Something quite nasty, right? How did it go? I'll just find that place.
Text 11, Maharaj.
Text 11, thank you. Yes, right. Yes, she said, oh, just see the activities of this servant maid, Sharmista. And she calls her, they're supposed to be friends, you know, but they don't have a very kind of nice respect for each other. Just see the activities of this servant, Sharmista. Disregarding all etiquette, she has put on my dress, just like a dog snatching clarified butter for use in a sacrifice. Well, I mean, if you want to offend someone, if you're looking for an argument, you're definitely going to get one when you start speaking to people in that kind of manner. Very rough way of speaking to someone. Anyway, Devayani spoke like this to Sharmista. And Sharmista, of course, she doesn't take it lightly because she's got the Kshatriya, although she's a girl, but still. Anyway, Devayani goes on glorifying the Brahmanas, that we have created the entire universe by our austerity. We keep the absolute truth within the core of our hearts. The Brahmanas are the only worshipable objects within this world. They are offered prayers and worshipped even by the great demigods, the directors of the various planets, and even by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Super Soul, the Supreme Purifier, the husband of the Goddess of Fortune. So, I mean, she certainly knows the philosophy, but her presentation is not done in a very humble manner, presenting the Brahmanas to be so proud and to be so that even the personality of Godhead worships, and it's true. What she's saying is true, but still, she didn't say it in a very nice manner. So we're even more respectable because we're in the dynasty of Bhrigu. Although the woman's father, being among the demons, is our disciple, so she's talking about Sharmista's father, that he is a disciple of Shukracharya, and he is among the demons. She has put on my dress, just like a Sudra taking charge of Vedic knowledge. So a Sudra taking charge of Vedic knowledge. Wow, I mean, she's certainly asking for trouble to speak to someone like this. And of course she gets it, she gets trouble. And Sharmista doesn't take it lightly. Sharmista was very angry, breathing heavily like a serpent, biting her lower lip with her teeth. She spoke to the daughter of Sukracharya as follows. So she says, "You beggar." No, just see how women can talk to each other sometimes. It's very, very surprising. Of course, not all women, but these two ladies, somehow they speak to each other in such a harsh manner. So Sharmista says, "You beggar, since you don't understand your position, why should you unnecessarily talk so much? Don't all of you wait at our house, depending on us for your livelihood, like crows?" She certainly countered everything which Devyani had said, Devyani spoke very nastily, and Sharmista is equally harsh in rebuking her. So it's almost like like Kali Yuga, where people argue like this. Somehow these two ladies, although they were brought up in such a Vedic culture, and their father, one's the daughter of Shukracharya, and the other is father's a king. Of course, you could say, well, Shukracharya is the guru of the demons. So, like that, and it's also meant that she said, you're demons, and you're not like the demigods, you're just demons. And you simply wait at our house depending on us for your livelihood. The Brahmanas, Brahmanas are allowed to beg. They depend on their disciples. And this king was a disciple of Shukracharya. Rishaparva was one of the disciples. So Sharmista was to the point. And she described the Brahmanas as just being beggars, like crows. You depend on whatever is put in the garbage. The crows will eat. They'll simply sit there in the garbage. So in similar manner, Brahmanas will depend on their disciples. So this is something which, of course, goes on even in our Krishna consciousness movement sometimes. Spiritual teachers, they depend on their disciples for their maintenance. And Sharmista was heavily rebuked by Devyani. And she charged Devyani that you Brahmanas are just like beggars. You're like crows. So Prabhupada writes, it is the nature of women to fight verbally at even a slight provocation. So often ladies may say things like that harshly, and often they're not taken very seriously. And Prabhupada said, we can see from this incident, this has been their nature for a long, long time, to fight and quarrel with each other. I know sometimes people, would be in charge of a temple, and you have to deal with different issues, and one of the issues which often comes up will be some quarreling between women, some arguments between the ladies that they cannot get along, some disagreements. They even have a saying that you can have, I think Prabhupada had actually said this. He said, you can have 100 people with beards and mustaches under one roof, meaning men. You can have 100 people under one roof, no problem. But as soon as you have 4 breasts, meaning 2 ladies, there will be fights, there will be quarrels. That is very difficult for women to be together and get along with each other and not argue. And that's usually one reason why it's good to get ladies married. Get them married and they can have their own home and they can be with their husband and have their own family. If they have to be with other women, then they fight with each other. Often, not all the time, but it does happen, and we see here, in this particular case, it happened with Devayani and Sharmista. They're quarreling and saying terrible things to each other. So it certainly helps if women can be properly married and taken care of by a good husband. So hearing these words anyway, Sukracharya's daughter Devayani, she was without clothes because Sharmista had taken her clothes. So she threw Devayani into the well. She knocked Devayani down into a well without any clothing. And then she went home. She just knocked her into the well and left her in the well and went home. And so it happened that Maharaj Yayati happened to come there. By the will of Providence, Maharaj Yayati was engaging in a hunting excursion, and he went to the well to get some water, and by chance he saw Devayani. So seeing her naked in the well, he gave her his upper cloth, and he took her by the hand, with his own hand, and lifted her out of the well. So this act of giving her a hand, this had certainly, it was an act of which was appreciated by Devayani. You could imagine the poor girl was in the well, naked, couldn't get out, and some young man comes along and helps her out, gives her some cloth to cover her body, and speaks nice words to her. And Devayani is infatuated that this young man has saved me, and he's taken my hand. So you've accepted my hand, you've accepted me as your married wife. Right? Usually when they do Vivaha Yagya, a marriage ceremony like that, you'll take the hand, or the man will take the hand of the woman, and they'll hold the hands together. And sometime in the Vedic marriage, they'll even tie the hands together like that. So here, Maharaj Yayati, he'd used his hand to bring Devayani out of the well. And so by taking her hand, Devayani thought that, this is just like being married. He's accepted me as his wife. So this Yayati, what to say? It was, of course, it must have been a surprise to him to hear this. But he's certainly attracted by Devayani. She's an attractive young woman, and he's certainly interested in her, that she will make a suitable wife for him. So she requested him not to change his mind and let another come to marry her. In Vedic culture, of course, kings like Yayati, they can have many wives. We know Lord Krishna, of course, had a lot of wives. And similarly, Maharaj Dasarath had many wives. Vasudev had many wives. And so here, Yayati, there's no mention, has he already got a wife? Anyway, he's of a different caste from Devayani, so that's a problem. However, Devayani, she considers that this is the will of Providence. because she had already tried to get married to another man. Devayani had been previously, she'd been attracted to a young man named Kacha, who was the son of the learned scholar Brihaspati. And she thought he would make a nice husband for her. But Kacha did not want to marry her because he respected Sukracharya as his senior. He had taken teachings from Sukracharya, and he didn't want to disrespect Sukracharya by marrying his daughter. He thought it wouldn't be respectful. So he thought it wouldn't be good for him to get married to Devayani. It would ruin the relationship with his teacher, with Sukracharya. Devayani, however, she wanted to marry Kacha, but when he wouldn't marry her, then she cursed him. So at that time, Kacha cursed her back. And he cursed her that she would not have a Brahmana for a husband. And so Devayani remembers this, and she said, it's all right. He said, this is the will of Providence. I'm not meant to marry a Brahmana. So all of this is described here. Oh yeah, he had learned from Sukracharya, he'd been learning the art. He'd been learning the art of reviving people who had died, bringing people back to life. Mritya Sanjivani. And we know, like Sukracharya had brought Bali Maharaj back to life after he'd been killed in battle. So this was something which was known. Sukracharya knew it, and he taught it to Kacha. Kacha wanted to learn it, because during wartime it's very useful. But when he learned from Sukracharya this art, how to revive people, Devayani cursed him because Kacha told her that he wouldn't marry her. So she cursed him. She cursed him that whatever he learned from her father would be useless. That he wouldn't be able to use that knowledge of reviving dead people. So that was the curse. So Devayani is quite a passionate person, a young woman. She has a lot of passion and gets involved in these kinds of things. So this relationship between Devayani and Yayati, this is Pratiloma Vivaha. The daughter is of a higher family, and the son is of a lower family. But Devayani said this arrangement was made by Providence. So of course today in our Krishna consciousness movement, sometimes we have a lot of issues that we're in the Krishna conscious society, marriages are not very successful. You know, there's not supposed to be divorce in our Krishna consciousness movement, but there are divorces. Do you think if we were to apply some of these principles, like, you know, recognizing people higher caste and lower caste, do you think if marriages could be better arranged, it would help to improve the success of the marriages? Lilamai Rukmini, what do you think?
Krishna Maharaj. Yeah, I think if the compatibility between the groom and the bride could be checked, maybe that would be useful. And also elsewhere, also we find Prabhupada mentions that and I think we had also discussed that earlier. Bhakti Maharaj was also saying, if the parents are qualified and they can identify a suitable husband for the daughter, then that would work out well, rather than for the girl to decide herself who she would like to get married to.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I think parents need to play a role, a major role in arranging the marriages. That will certainly help a lot when the parents arrange the marriages rather than the young people themselves. But you know, we don't all have that culture. We're not all in that position that our parents are devotees, and if you're in a devotee family, then you can do that. But if you're not coming from a devotee family, then you can't. You don't have that opportunity. But of course, we have spiritual families. Yes.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Maharaj, but we see even marriage arranged by parents are devotees, children are devotees. Even that kind of marriage, will end up in a divorce. So even parents, they look at the astrology of both boy and girl matching, then they will get married. But we see even when that will end up 1-2 years, will end up in a divorce. So where are we going wrong, Maharaj?
Well, that's what I want to hear from you. I really.
I just like to add that it's also because of perhaps the modern education, and also girls get married much later in life. So by that time, they already have so many expectations, and they're not so patient. So any small thing becomes a big issue. So I guess there's a lot of responsibility that is there in each one of us as grihasthas to ensure that we can be mature, and if we can take the help of now that we're in Krishna consciousness, maybe we can take the help of our mentors, or like when we are in congregation. So if we have some senior grihasthas who can help and guide us on a regular basis, not only when things go bad, but maybe on an ongoing basis, if we can get some guidance, that would be useful.
Yes, certainly. The guidance it's very important. Mentorship, having people there to counsel and to check with the couples about their condition, their family situation, how they're getting along, and what are the problems, and working things out, recognizing the difficulties, and keeping the peace in the home. That's an important point, keeping them together. Astrology, yeah, I mean, I haven't seen it to be. Of course, we know it's not 100%. I don't know what kind of percent it is, but we had one case. I know it was very successful. The astrology was very good, but still the marriage broke up. They had 2 children, but still after some time they broke up. So it was such a shock because their astrology was so good, but then still it went bad. So we cannot just simply go by astrology, really. But regular counseling, and If parents are involved, it certainly makes it a lot easier.
Manoj, can I add?
Yes.
So I have myself three daughters. So I'm also, thinking about all this because so much divorces are going on. But the first part is the training part. What Prabhupada said, boys have to be trained in brahmachari, girls have to be trained in chastity and faithfulness. But because the society is so intermingling, and some devotees want, that our girls should be able to live in this world, so they let the girls mingle with the boys. So the problem is like, when they're not early married, their heart has already gone on to 100 people, even in devotee community. So it's I even tell my daughter, she's very clear. She's 14. She says it is better to get early married. So though she's a born American, she understands when Prabhupada says something, there's a reason. When you're getting disturbed, it's better. But even if I say I want to get my daughter married by 18, there's no boy. Because no parents are ready to get their boys married very early on. Because they don't have faith in certain things, whatever. But the training part and good example part, because we need strong examples of young children don't want to see all that very serious matajis. They want to have their thinking is very different. They want to see some lively happy couples, and then see that Krishna conscious married life is really very fun, because at that age they don't think about Krishna and all, Krishna prema and all. They want to see that the relationship is like friendly. So if it is too serious of a relationship, so some couples should be like, I'm sure in every congregation there are some light happy couples. They're not, I mean, they're strict in Krishna consciousness, but with children, they don't show that, oh, that Mat Prabhu is like God and all that. Young children at this in this generation, they don't like to see, oh, my husband is my guru and I have to be submissive. I mean, we have to be eventually, but they don't show it to the younger generation. They get fried because these girls are educated. So better if children, I mean, I am of that opinion, they're not to get them too qualified. I myself, I cannot be submissive when I understand the world similar to what my husband could understand. So when you're too qualified, that also becomes a problem. All that points that Leela Mai Mataji said, I agree with that. That too late marriage, too much of education, it really breaks. It is hard to gel with somebody when the both of them are intellectually and financially very stable. That I understand. Of course, they understand the world better. And the other part is Prabhupada had said in one of the purports that the woman has to come from she has to be beautiful, but from a financially and other a little lower, so that she doesn't keep bragging, "Oh, my father's house we had this and my father's house we had that," and the man is like insecure that I cannot provide her all that. So yeah, couple of things that I had in mind.
Well, in Srimad Bhagavatam, you have Devahuti brought to marry Kardama, and
Yeah.
Kardama just living in the jungle, and Devahuti is the daughter of Swayambhuva Manu coming from a palace. But she
Yeah, but
adjusted.
she was very well aware that spiritual knowledge is higher than material opulence. So at that in that generation, I mean that yuga, they were very very clear that Brahmanas are much higher than Kshatriya with their opulence and all that. So they may, and their training was that no matter what, like Sukanya, no matter what, you have to serve your husband, even if he is irritable, invalid, old and all. So that training part is missing. Even I have not seen my mother with my grandparents, and how they interact. Of course I've seen with my parents together, but that the full like we had a joint family, so uncles and aunts and nieces and nephews all staying together. That part is missing because of the nuclear family that we have. Because when you have a nuclear family, there is no support system. What emotional support a mataji can give, another mataji a man can't give. And then they say, oh, the man doesn't understand because he is a different species, he cannot understand. So for a Mataji, she needs a constant assurance. She is beautiful. She is this. She is that. And the man is, he is on the on a different level. He's busy with his livelihood making and all. He's concerned with money, not with always praising the lady. But when there's a village like of a setup, and one lady praises another lady, that support system is not there. So the man is overburdened with something that is very alien to his nature. He cannot make out. So I also go to my husband, oh, you see any difference? And he's like, he gets very scared because if I have done something on my some makeup or something, and I'm looking for some words of appreciation, and he cannot relate because he doesn't do all those stuff. But another Mataji can always, she will immediately catch, oh, you have cut your hair, you have done something, you have done something, and it's relatable. But for a man, it is like, it's that's why they say men are from Mars, women are from Venus. So another woman can emotionally give that support, but a man cannot. So that's why we are looking for something in the wrong place. Like we are looking for love in this material world, which is not there. We have to look in Krishna. Similarly, emotional support, which women look for in a man, the woman cannot give because men are not very emotional. They are more rational beings. So they need to have a community, and then once the woman is satisfied and contented, she gets her share of appreciation and all. Then the family life will get smooth, and she will not keep nagging on the husband. So this is what I thought.
Should not keep nagging on the husband. Wow, that sounds something really special. Yeah.
Yeah, they keep, right? I mean, you don't understand me, you don't have time for me, and then you don't even care about me. And then why am I doing all these things? You don't even realize that I have done this, that. Because the man will not realize. He doesn't do it. He's not wearing all this makeup and hairstyles and this and that he will recognize it. Only another Mataji can do that. So we are expecting something for especially the emotional support, and that is where a marriage fails. That we look for that emotional support from a man who is he's a different species. So that is one place where it goes a little strained. And this is a complaint which I, for the past 6 7 years, I mean, I am dealing with some couples. It's always there. He does not understand me because he will not understand. He's a different species.
He doesn't understand me, and so we should expect that, right? That the woman should expect that. You're saying the woman should expect not to
No,
understand the
she
man.
should not expect emotional support from a man because they are not emotional beings. They are rational beings. What happens? Any problem is what the Mataji wants to be heard. She will keep this happened, that happened. She wants to be heard. She doesn't want solution. And the man comes up with a solution, and then she snaps at him. You don't understand me, and all that goes on because they are tuned to give solutions. Okay, this is the problem, logic. Okay, this happened, if and then you do this, and all the woman wants is, oh, you just hear me and let me cry, that's it. Let me download. Once she is downloaded, she's relieved of that burden. So it is, they don't want solution. They know the solution. Women are smart enough to have their solutions. Only things they need a ear and a shoulder to cry. A ear to hear and a shoulder to cry. So that's what they expect. And the men, they keep giving solutions. And so then it gets strained. And especially in devotee community also, we have this four regulative principles also that nobody speaks about. And sometimes the Mataji is very strict about it, sometimes the man is very strict about it, and then there is a strain because they don't come to a common ground. So that is also one of the major concern when marriages fall apart, because if it's very sensitive topic and everybody wants to grow in their spiritual life, but that's not the only way to grow. So all anybody who can adjust to that, the lower denominator, then the marriage life goes smoothly. Because even in, I mean, the cases that I handle, some of them had extramarital affairs, even Brahmin initiated Matajis or something. Because it's just that the principle is not discussed and not followed and at the common point. They take it, one takes it to at the too extreme, either the man or the woman. So yeah,
I'm very sad, very sorry to hear all this. I'm surprised.
yeah,
Yes.
these are facts. I mean, but it can be addressed. But the Indian men are not ready to be like counseled. That is another thing. The woman will come cry. She will tell everything, and the man is. It's not my problem. She's always the problem. Sometimes women are also like that. But most the men, Indian men, they will not open their mouth.
That's why all the men are quiet. Nobody's saying anything, right?
I don't know. Because I was involved for so long in this. Uh, that's why I feel like giving an input. I don't know. They might have not explored in that area. They're preachers, all the men here. So
Well, these are important practical issues. I mean, we have to deal with these issues. Most of our devotees are in householder life, are going to be in householder life, and they need to be helped. They need to be often given support to make their householder life successful.
you're right. Well, but Maharaj, one thing that over and over that we have observed in married couples, that we are coming with a conditioning. We are coming with an upbringing, and both the parties have to somehow come to common ground, because it's very difficult if somebody is saying that I want to practice this way and somebody is saying I want to practice this way, because they have a certain set of even with my husband, he's a very truthful person, so he's very accountable to his job. But so for him to like, okay, 9:30 I'm going to stop working, but he feels very accountable that I want to finish this project, because he is coming from an upbringing where they are very honest, and so. But when you're practicing Krishna consciousness, you have to say 9:30 is done means done. You can't keep working all the time because you feel accountable. So he is right in his own way. Only thing, if we can say that we can accept that yes, this is your good quality, but that is something that is not it's imbalancing the family life. So even if he gives me a feedback, I go to my professional counselor and I get myself fixed first. If there is a feedback from my husband, so then I don't blame him. Okay, whatever feedbacks he gives, and I go to a psychologist. Okay, so I tell my psychologist that this is the feedback. So if each of us really gets, I will try to rectify myself rather than trying to change the other person, then they can go a long way. Because see, at the end of the day, Maharaj, most of the times we cannot change our basic nature. But even if I say that I am willing to change for you, at least I hear that you say that you are getting disturbed, you are feeling uncomfortable with my nature. I will try to, I hear it, I accept it, rather than justifying and giving reasons for what I did, why I did. Just like yes, I will try to do something about it. Maybe we cannot do it till the end of our life, because anger and all these issues, they take a long time to be addressed. But even if I say, okay, I will go, I'll take certain therapy sessions and hear from a professional what she has to say. If each of us will become accountable to our own, whatever little anarthas are there, I will say little only, but if each of us can take us that responsibility about ourselves, then the married life will really be very healthy, rather than just pointing out. Because it's very easy to, I did that for a long time. I'm married 17 years, but now I'm learning that anytime there is an issue, I go to a psychologist, that okay, this happened, how do I change myself, or how do I address that part. Because that's a concern, that if somebody is saying I'm hungry, I cannot say you're, I have to say, oh, I need to give you.
Really, you go to a psychologist?
Yeah, for the past 2 years, since I'm in India, I can go in person. When I was in US, I used to do it online.
Really? And you get a lot of help from psychologists? Do you think it's really helpful?
But whether I change or not, my husband is happy that she accepted that there was something wrong with her, and
Oh
she's
yeah,
trying.
yeah.
That's all. I mean, he doesn't want big changes, and nobody wants big changes. They just want to hear, okay, I'm sorry, maybe something is wrong with me. And then when you do that, they also feel, oh, I also did this mistake. I also, then my husband will also say, oh, maybe I also will go to the psychologist. He also got it's
Hare Krishna.
let's
Okay,
do it together.
Hare Krishna,
interesting. Yes. Yeah, Prabhu
Maharaj,
has.
just
Yeah.
want to share some information. In Malaysia, Maharaj, in the year 2014, I read a survey. They did a survey in 2014. I mean, not Malaysia, not only devotee in Malaysia. They found the top 3 reason of divorce. First, 56% is due to quarrel between husband and wife because they're incompatible. So quarrel between husband and wife, 56%. Second reason, 11% due to adultery. Husband and wife either one commit adultery. And third reason, 10% due to mother-in-law. Mother-in-law problem. So these are the top 3 reasons of divorce in Malaysia from 2014 report. And the 56% quarrel between husband and wife, the main reason of quarrel because of financial. It was found that main reason of quarrel between husband and wife was due to financial problem. Okay. And then I also spoke to devotee, senior devotee who handled this kind of issue in Malaysia. She also admitted, Maharaj, the first reason of quarrel between husband and wife in devotee community, financial. Even devotees quarrel, main reason are financial. This also input.
Well, that's a very material situation, right? They're really on the bodily platform. When they're quarreling about finances, it means they're not very spiritual, right? They're not very
Yes.
spiritually focused. They're only thinking about the money.
Yes.
But this
There
happens
are.
among the devotees also, Maharaj. This even the financial matters happening among devotees also, because that is also a matter in the life to carry on in this material world. Because I just say one example that when one of the devotee from Dubai, he wanted to resign his job and go and settle in Mayapur. I mean, for doing service. So when he asked permission from my Guru Maharaj, his Honor Japataksa Maharaj, what Guru Maharaj was asked that, do you have 40,000 rupees per month without expecting anything from Mayapur? This was his question. Then he said, he said he needs 2 more years. So he said, you continue for 2 more years, then you resign your job and come back. So because finance is also a matter, because especially in Mayapur, if I say, the cost of living is also very high nowadays. Of course, some vegetables are getting cheap, but still the cost of living, rent, everything is going up nowadays. Secondly, the status symbol is also coming up, because people are so rich, people are coming in and then they are leading such a high-fi life. So the people lower level are also feeling so uncomfortable and insecure. So this type of attitude is also coming up in Mayapur. Even everywhere, all around the world, the devotees are also, because these things are as matters. And finance is also a matter, Maharaj, because need to give a proper training in the finance aspect also to the couple who are getting married or planning to get married, or those who are in trouble. Unless this is going to be a problem, because why I'm saying is, we have a personal experience in my own known ground. One couple is facing such issue. Is the reason I just brought up this one. So, and I really appreciate Sundari Gopi Mataji. I think probably this is the first person whom I am hearing such a comment that accepting a mistake is in her own part, even though there is no part, it's not. But probably a man will need that. This is the best attitude to solve much of the problems in a family. Of course, man is always a little egoistic, higher level. So, but that attitude comes, the man will come down definitely. I'm saying many of my experience, out of my own experience, I'm saying, I said, my children, no, just accept that there's a mistake in you. You did this mistake. But no, they're not ready. They're not ready to accept. I said, say, accepting mistake is the first step of learning. This is a very, very big point. It is. Thanks, Sundari Gopi Mataji, to bring up this point. And it's like, I think at least 50 to 60% of the problem will be solved if the same attitude comes in every family. Hare Krishna Maharaj. Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you for that. It's very nice. I certainly agree with you also. I think it's a very important point. But it's very rare that people are willing to do that, to admit that, okay, it's something wrong with me, it's my fault. You know, a lot of times, the other party is not willing to do that. They're not willing to look at themselves, and they can only see the fault in the other person. That's one of the challenges, to get people to look at themselves and to admit there could be something wrong with me. It takes a lot of courage, a lot of strength to do that, and a lot of people are not willing to do that. Yeah? And any other comments from the devotees there?
I just have one more thing to ask Maharaj, that because see, I have seen highly say so that spirit who has spiritual knowledge, very high spiritual knowledge. I know few devotees. I mean, they are well renowned Grihastha. I mean, Grihastha in the sense like in the knowledge aspect of spiritual, scriptural knowledge, but they also has faced such issue. They are, I mean, they have already been divorced. They are separated. So, I mean, so many issues. So how that, I mean, of course, application of the knowledge is Krishna also says, you know, like jnana vijnana sahitam. So application of knowledge. I know I'm a bit afraid that are we lacking bit of that part in ISKCON? Just comment on that, Maharaj.
Are we lacking in knowledge?
Application of knowledge.
Yeah, we talk philosophy, but we don't always apply it. We recite slokas on the Bhagavad Gita, but we don't live by them. Interesting. Certainly, we can think about that. We certainly could be guilty there. Yes? Somebody has a hand up there?
Yes, this is Murti Sri. Even if you have realized everything and Gita and everything, Srila Prabhupada's life, you see, Krishna didn't want him to be in family life. It's not that he could not adjust or she could not adjust. It's not like that. Krishna didn't want him to be in family life, so he had to part. So that is also there. The bigger thing is Krishna wants you to be there or don't want you to be there. Maturity comes, even if maturity comes, you are nowhere. Yeah, you have to depend on Krishna finally.
I think Mataji, that is a different aspect altogether, because Srila Prabhupada there was a proper discussion. There is a clear vision for Srila Prabhupada. Of course, we cannot compare Srila Prabhupada with our life, because the problem the current Grihastha
No, it was
facing,
not so clear. It was not so clear. He wanted to earn money and he wanted to make temples by himself. The thing was that it was the astrologers' decision. Even when he was a very small, 1 day old, that he knew, people knew that he is going to build some temples, 108 temples he's going to have. And his Gurudev told him to preach in English. It was not decided that he's going to take sannyas or all, but it came on a sudden, it came on its way. Krishna wanted that way. It came
this is same
its
thing
way.
what I want to say, Mataji. This is all same point I wanted to bring it up, that Srila Prabhupada had a vision that he did it that for a higher purpose. But are we doing this for same?
No, he
our
applied
purpose
it for the
different.
no. He
That is
applied
not
it
my
for the
question.
higher purpose.
Exactly.
He
That's our
accepted
question
it.
different.
He
Exactly, Mataji.
accepted.
That's the same point. Same point I'm saying, that We cannot compare our situation with Srila Prabhupada because he had a higher purpose, he has a proper wish, he had a proper vision. He knew that what he's going to do. But for us, we are fighting for like cats and dogs, like as for silly things, simply egoistic. This is my
That is
point.
silly. That is silly, no doubt.
Srila Prabhupada only changed his ashram with the greatest reluctance. It wasn't like he was eager to go out and become a sannyasi. It was with great reluctance only that he moved into that that he left home and became vanaprastha, and then later, then only with reluctance he entered into sannyas. It wasn't completely spontaneous, you know. He certainly took a long time and he thought about it for a while, a lot, and it was with the reluctance that he did it. But he knew he had to do it. Okay. Yes? Any other comments? Okay, we'll take a break then. Let's have a break for 10 minutes. Accepted her request. Marriage, the marriage was not sanctioned by regular scripture. So King Yayati did not like it, says text 23. But because it was arranged by providence, and because he was attracted by her beauty, he accepted her request. So, anyway, pratiloma or anuloma, these are things not very much taken care of, not very much important these days, but in the past it was certainly important, and still sometimes today you'll find very orthodox families, they will arrange the marriage of their women like that. Women from a higher caste, they will not marry a man from the lower caste. So Prabhupada writes, the central idea is if the boy and girl were on an equal level, the marriage would be happy, whereas inequality would lead to unhappiness. So because care is no longer taken in marriage, we now find many divorcees. So this is unfortunate. Of course, in Krishna consciousness, there's not supposed to be divorce. Prabhupada would write that now you are lifetime companions, right? Husband and wife are lifetime companions. And they should live together. And if they live together peacefully, then they get the blessings of the goddess of fortune. They're worried about the economy. You said, we were hearing from Yaduraj Krishna Prabhu, we said most of the marriages which broke up, they were arguing about economic issues, not enough money. But if they live together peacefully and don't argue, they'll have the blessings of the goddess of fortune, and the economic problems can be solved. The problems come because they don't live together peacefully, because they do argue. They allow Kali Yuga to enter into the midst, and they argue with each other. And when they argue with each other, then they lose the blessings of the goddess fortune. So this is one of the problems. Prabhupada also talks about marriages are simply based on agreement. They agree. They don't consult. They don't consider the situation, the qualities, the nature. If the man is a Brahmin and he marries a Sudra woman, or vice versa, then certainly will be very difficult. We do find these kind of situations. You know, the woman can be a very Brahminical kind of nature, and the man is of a different nature. So living together, it's difficult for them to get along. Anyway, Sukracharya somehow agreed to allow Devayani to marry Yayati, but he made conditions. And the condition was he didn't want, well, first of all, the main problem was that Devayani complained how she'd been thrown into the well. And she told her father, and then her father had to take action about this. And the father went to Sharmista's father, because Sharmista's father's his disciple. And we're told Sukracharya, when he heard what had happened, he was very aggrieved, he was disturbed. Well, it wasn't a pleasant thing. And he's condemning the profession of priesthood and praising the profession of just collecting grains from the field. He would rather just collect grains from the field than be in the priesthood profession, because he's a priest, he's a guru and he has to go there to the disciple and he has to tell him, chastise him that your daughter did like this to my daughter, your daughter threw my daughter into the well and left her there naked. Now look what's happened. This is your fault. So Sukracharya is not happy to have to do this naturally. And he said, rather be better if I could just go and collect grains in the field, because then I just completely depend on the mercy of God. I don't have to beg from anyone. Because Sukracharya was naturally getting support from Sharmista's father. He was his disciple, so he would get donations like that, take money from them. But now he has to go and complain that your daughter has behaved in this manner. We have to do something about this. Anyway, it happens that Vrishaparva gets to know that Sukracharya is coming, and so he goes ahead. He's a very humble soul, and he comes out and he falls down in the street at the feet of his guru and satisfies him, checking the wrath of Sukracharya. So Vrishaparva, he's really using his humility, although he's from the demon family. But he's got very good character. You can see that he came out and he fell down at the feet of his guru and he pacifies him. And he apologizes to Sukracharya for what has happened. And Sukracharya, he was angry initially, but when he saw Vrishaparva falling at his feet, then it changed him. He felt satisfied. And then he requested the king, he said that, okay, you have to help me now pacify the mind of my daughter, because Devayani is upset that she got thrown into the well naked and left there, so you have to pacify her. And Sukracharya says, she's my daughter and I can't neglect her. So your daughter has caused this, so what are you going to do? So they asked Devayani what she wanted, and Devayani said that whenever I marry by the order of my father, my friend Sharmista must go with me as my maidservant, along with her friends. So this was the demand of Devayani, that Sharmista threw me in the well, so now she should become my maidservant. She should go with me wherever I go when I get married. So Vrishaparva had to agree. And the girl Sharmista, she had to go there and be like a servant to Devayani. But of course, there's problems, because Devayani gets married to Yayati, and then Devayani has a son, and Sharmista also thinks it would be nice to also have a son. And it happens that she arranges to contact with Yayati at the right time in the month when her womb is fertile, and she also conceives a child. And when she conceives a child, then Devayani is furious because she's told by the other people in the palace that Sharmista's child is from Yayati, from Devayani's husband. So Devayani is again very angry, and again she goes back to her father and tells her father, look what's happened. Now, Sukracharya had already warned the king that never allow this girl Sharmista to lie with you in your bed. So Shukracharya was giving Devayani in marriage to Yayati, but with conditions, because this Sharmista was going to go with Devayani. So Sukracharya could see the danger, so he warns him, don't let this girl, don't associate with this girl. And so Yayati, he could not follow. He was in the position because, you know, woman is like fire and man is like butter. And there is Yayati in the palace, and he's got all these young women around him. Devayani was young, and she had a nice son. And Sharmista comes, and she doesn't have a son, but she wants to get one. And so it happened that Yayati got put into a situation with Sharmista, and Sharmista got pregnant. And when she's pregnant, Devayani is furious, and she goes back and tells her father. And so Shukracharya is upset that I warned him. He did not listen to I told him not to get involved, and he's not followed. And so Shukracharya curses Yayati that because you are so lusty, may you become old. So that was the curse which was put on Yayati by Shukracharya. So this was a big problem. You see, Yayati, actually, he didn't do anything irreligious because he's a Kshatriya. And the Kshatriya code is if a woman approaches a Kshatriya, then the Kshatriya should satisfy her. It's the duty of a Kshatriya. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, you have the example of Arjuna coming back from Dwarka, and he's unhappy. He looks very morose. And so Yudhisthira asks him, maybe you have refused a woman who had begged you for a son. Because in those days that would happen. The Kshatriyas would be approached by women, and they were meant to satisfy that woman. So here, Yayati had been approached by Sharmista, and she was approaching Yayati to have a son. It was at that time of the month when her womb was fertile and she could conceive a child. So that union between Yayati and Sharmista was according to religious principles. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, I am that sex which is not against religious principles. So the religious principle is that the sex life is meant for conceiving a child. So Sharmista did that. Her intention in having union with Yayati was to have a child. And so she did. She got pregnant. But when she got pregnant, then Devayani was very angry, and she tells her father, and so the father curses Yayati that you become old. So this is a problem. King Yayati was very lusty, When she was going to her father, he tried to follow her, he tried to catch her and touch her feet, he tried to pacify her, but he could not satisfy her. She would not, she was so upset, she was so angry at him. So Sukracharya is also very angry. And you can see text 36, you untruthful fool, lusting after woman, you have done a great wrong. I therefore curse you to be attacked and disfigured by old age and invalidity. So, this is a curse put on Yayati. And how is Yayati going to respond to this? So, he tells Sukracharya that, well, if you do this to me, this is going to be very harmful for your daughter, because I'm the husband of your daughter, and if I'm not able to satisfy her because of my old age and because of my poor health and old age, then she will be frustrated. There will be no one to satisfy her lusty desires. So you're torturing your own daughter. So Yayati told like this to Sukracharya. So Sukracharya had to give a compromise. He said, all right, then if one of your sons will accept, if someone else will accept your curse, then you can give it to them. So this was the situation. Yayati, he was intelligent enough to understand that if he was going to be cursed to be old, then certainly he wouldn't be able to satisfy his wife. His wife was a young woman. She had material desires, and she wanted to enjoy having more children. So Sukracharya compromised and said, you can exchange your old age with someone else. Because at this time Yayati already had some sons. So the thinking was, maybe one of your sons will be able to accept your old age. So when Yayati got this benediction from Sukracharya, then he approaches his eldest son, and he asks his eldest son is someone called Yadu, and he asks Yadu, can you give me your youth in exchange for my old age and invalidity? How would you feel, you know? How would you like my old age and invalidity, you know? Would you like to take it and give me your youth? Why? And Yayati is very honest. He said, I am not yet satisfied in my sexual desires. But if you are kind to me, you can take my old age given by your maternal grandfather, and I will take your youth so that I may enjoy life for a few more years. So this is the thinking of Yayati. He's thinking, I will enjoy life. What does he mean enjoy? It means that I'll have more sex with my wife for a few more years. He's thinking this is enjoyment. So when people are very much attached to this kind of sense gratification, they have no real intelligence. Their minds are distorted by material desires. Actually, Yayati is shameless. You know, you would just imagine, wouldn't it be embarrassing to ask your son like that? To ask your son, please, you take my old age and give me your youth, because your mother and I want to have more union. We want to enjoy more sexual pleasures. It's disgusting. But this is how people think today in the material world. Everyone's so mad. They're so caught up in the bodily concept of life. Right? Prabhupada uses this word pramata, right? Madness. pramata, madness. They're so mad for sense gratification. They cannot control it. So Prabhupada liked to quote Yamunacharya. Yamunacharya, he had some experience of this, that he could spit at whenever the thought came for sense gratification, his lips would curl with distaste, and he could spit at the thought. So that, of course, that's an ideal situation. Anyway, here's Yayati. He's requesting his son, can you help me? And Yadu, who's the eldest son, he has to tell his father that, well, I don't welcome your old age. I don't want your old age and invalidity, because I want to renounce eventually. And unless I enjoy material happiness, you cannot renounce. So this is the argument of Yadu. Yadu actually went on to become King Yadu, the Yadu dynasty. He was one of the sons of Yayati. So his reason is that in the future I want to renounce. And in order to be successful in my renunciation, first I have to enjoy material happiness. And without enjoying material happiness, it will be very difficult to renounce. So the Varnashram system is like that. You want to follow Varnashram, the idea is, for brahmachari training, get good training, controlling the mind and senses, enter into family life, satisfy the senses according to religious principles, and then later on in life you can renounce. By the age of 50 or so, then you're supposed to go to the forest. Pancha Sordvam Vanam Brajit. Go into the forest. And go on and renounce. And ultimately even can take sannyas. But without enjoying, if one has never enjoyed the material world, you've never tried to enjoy it, of course, there's no real enjoyment in the material world, but often we think there is enjoyment. And so until one actually tries to enjoy the material world, without trying to enjoy it, if one tries to renounce, then later, after renouncing, it can be difficult for them. They can have problems. Unless one attains the Brahman platform, we cannot take up devotional service. Devotional service means to be fully engaged in Krishna consciousness. And if you have not enjoyed material happiness, then it's difficult to actually renounce. So this King Yadu, Maharaj Yadu, he tells his father like that. The other brothers, Yadu's other brothers, they refused to accept their father's old age, but for different reasons. They were not aware of Dharma. They just wanted to have sense gratification. They were not thinking about renunciation. But the oldest son, he was thinking that ultimately I want to renounce. And therefore it's important that I should go through the other ashrams before renouncing. The other brothers, they just simply refused. So they were irreligious. They said, no, we don't want that. In my old age, who wants that? Nobody wants that. And Prabhupada talks about it in the purport here. He said, we have seen that many sannyasis who accepted sannyas prematurely, not having satisfied their material desires, fall down because they are disturbed. Therefore, the general process is to go through grihastha life and vanaprastha life and finally come to sannyas and devote oneself completely to the service of the Lord. Maharaj Yadu was ready to accept his father's order and exchange youth for old age, because he was confident that the youth taken by his father would be returned. But because this exchange would delay his engagement in devotional service, he did not want to accept his old age, for he was eager to achieve freedom from disturbances. Yadu was also eager to see Lord Krishna's appearance in his dynasty as soon as possible. So Yadu refused to accept his father's proposal. So this was not irreligious. It was to serve Krishna. So just like the four Kumaras, they could refuse Lord Brahma's order to populate the universe. They had a good reason. So similarly, Yadu also had a good reason why he didn't want to take his father's old age. And the reason was Lord Krishna is going to come, and we want to allow his birth as soon as possible. We want him to come. So that these sons didn't want to take the old age, but then the youngest son volunteers. Puru, who was younger than these three brothers, but more qualified. My dear son, do not be disobedient like your elder brothers, for that is not your duty. And so Puru agrees. Who in this world can repay his debt to his father? By the mercy of the Father, one gets the human form of life, which can enable one to become an associate of the Supreme Lord. So although he's the youngest son, he's willing to take the old age. He's willing to do what the other sons would not do. So again, here we see the importance of accepting authority, taking instruction, doing things even though it may be very difficult, willing to do these things for the service of the superior. Just like in our Krishna consciousness movement, Srila Prabhupada also writes about requesting intelligent young people to sacrifice the comforts of life to take up the Krishna consciousness movement and preach Krishna consciousness for the good of the world. It's Prabhupada said, just sacrifice this one life for the service of Krishna. We've already had so many lives before in the past. Give this one life for the service of Krishna. It will not be a waste. Rather, it's the greatest benefit, it's the greatest opportunity to use this human life for spreading Krishna consciousness. So in this way, Puru is ready to take the old age for his father. He can conquer over material nature. So the father, naturally, Yayati is very pleased with this son. And, and he said, but actually Puru is humble. And he talks about first class, second class, and third class, right? So the first class son is one who could anticipate what his father wants without even being told to do it. He can understand what is the desire of the father, and you take up that work and you do that work. That is the first class son. And the second class son, he waits to receive the father's order. And the one who takes the father's order irreverently is third class, right? You do it, but you do it grudgingly. You didn't really want to do it. So that's third class. But a son who refuses his father's order, that is like the father's stool. And Prabhupada talks about the two words that the son is putra. Putra meaning is meant to free father from going to hell. And if the son doesn't do that work, then the father thinks better mutra. Mutra being urine. And the urine and the putra, they come from the same place. So the father thinks, it was better I just simply pass urine than conceived a son, because the son is not obedient. He doesn't do what I want him to do. So it would have been better for me just to pass urine rather than to have a child. So in this way, Yayati was very pleased, and Puru took the old age, Yayati took the youth of his son, and he enjoyed this material world as he required. Now, Yayati has that desire, he wants to enjoy. He was the ruler of the entire world, 7 islands. He ruled the citizens like a father. He had taken the youth of his sons. His senses were unimpaired, and he enjoyed as much material happiness as he desired. So, in this way, Yayati is, he's satisfying his senses, but it cannot last forever. Devayani, his dear wife, always brought him pleasure, but it cannot go on forever. How long can it last? Yayati performed many sacrifices. As a king, he has a duty to perform sacrifices. And he offered gifts to the Brahmins, satisfied the Lord, worshipped the demigods. When the creation was everything, and no, Vishnu. So in this way, Yayati was going on, but after some time, it couldn't go on forever. Although he was fond of it, although he was very fond of material enjoyment, it said internally he was thinking of becoming an eternal servant of the Lord. He had worshipped the Lord, who was situated in everyone's heart. So Yayati, he had some culture. Because he was a king, he had religious duties to perform. And he would perform different rituals. And he would contemplate about the position of the Lord, how they're worshipping the Lord, offering everything to the Lord. And the Lord is in everyone's heart as Narayan. He's invisible, but he's situated everywhere. So in this way, Maharaji Yati began to consider how he wanted happiness, but he was unable to find that real happiness. He was unable to be satisfied. Although he had so many material possessions, he had so much opulence, he was king of the world, he was enjoying everything, but he was not satisfied. He wanted something more. And this is the nature of material life, that there's no real happiness found in the material world or the material body. That happiness is within. We have to look within to get real happiness. So Maharaj Yayati was doing sacrifices, doing yaga, but he was not getting the satisfaction. This is the position of Maharaj Yayati. For 1,000 years, he was unable to be satisfied. But when we get spiritual realization, then we can actually experience satisfaction. So what Maharaj Yati, he had to enjoy, he had to have all that enjoyment first. But what did it do for him? It didn't satisfy him. He went on enjoying, and there was no end to it, because that is the nature of lust, that it burns like fire and is never satisfied. So how can we ever overcome that tendency? Of course, Maharaj Yayati was fortunate because as a king, he would do yagyas and he would hear from different pandits and brahmanas, and he would hear about the Lord. And gradually he began to contemplate about his spiritual position. And he could understand that there's no real happiness in this material world. So in the next chapter, we'll hear more about how Maharaj Yayati gets out of that situation. Certainly, it's very difficult to get out. It's very easy to get in, very difficult to get out, right? We say, Devi Hesha Gunamayi Mama Maya Duratyaya. Very difficult to overcome Maya. So because of having so much sense gratification, it's very difficult for him to get out of it, to give it up. People don't understand this. Common people don't, they are always thinking, I want more money. We were hearing people don't have enough money, they want more. They always want more, and the more you get, the more you want. Nobody says, now I have enough. They always want more. There's no real happiness anywhere in the material world, but still people are trying to find that happiness. They're looking in the wrong place. So we're trying to bring people out of that illusion. We're trying to give them Krishna consciousness. We're trying to give them some association. We put on so many programs. We cultivate people. It's a big task. How to bring people into Krishna consciousness, to get them free from their material attachments. It's a constant struggle. So Prabhupada quotes this verse from is it Rupa Goswami? Sarvopadi vinirmuktam tatparadvena nirmalam rishikesha rishikena sevanam bhakti rucha. That upadis, designations, sarv upadi, all designations. So upadis, we designate ourselves in the material world. We designate ourselves, I'm a brahmachari, or I'm a sannyasi, or I'm a grihasta, whatever. These designations, I'm married, or I'm single, I'm a woman, I'm young, I'm old. So many designations. You know, we become absorbed, we become entangled in these different designations. But we have to give up these designations because they keep us in the material world. Material world So the bondage is there, the senses become caught up in so many sensual activities. Just like Yayati, he got the most difficult situation. The very beautiful young woman from a noble family, the daughter of Sukracharya, very difficult to get out of that entanglement, how to get free. And children are coming also, he has children. And he has position, he's a king, he has responsibility, people are honoring him and respecting him. Very difficult. So, in Krishna consciousness, we also have these problems. We also get designations. We get caught up with the material energy. How to keep ourselves pure from all of these things, how to not be caught up with all of these different identities. Yes? What is the solution? Someone like to guide us? Yeah, Bimala Prasad Prabhu? How to avoid being caught up in so many material designations?
Well, Maharaj, my limited experience tells me that for most of people, they have to pass through it. For most of people, because this is generally what I have noticed in my small career in Krishna consciousness, that whenever there is this mention of first class intelligence, the false ego kicks in. And I mean, though nobody will be willing to concede actually, but everybody thinks that, oh, I have the first class intelligence. So the first class intelligence is like simply by hearing you understand. But I understand that like that comes after years and years, or maybe even if not lifetimes of practice, that you appreciate simply by hearing, you understand that thing. But most of the people in general, they have got second or third class intelligence. So they either have to experience it to understand, or those who are like adamant or stubborn or obstinate, they won't change the course even after having severely punished by the material nature. So the second class people intelligence, that's based on experience, like even like when we do this teachers training exercises and courses, there is a very strong element there where we use experiential learning. So we learn from our experiences and then like we progress. So generally people, unless and until they like have first-hand experience of the bitter taste, they don't listen to good advices. Because they don't have that caliber, they don't have that samskar to, like appreciate that. So
Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati gives the example about the bald man being hit on the head by the bale fruit. Right? You walk under the bale tree and the bale fruit falls on the bald head. Wow, very painful. And so you're very careful not to walk under the bale tree again. Sometimes we say, the school of hard knocks. Prabhupada used to say like that to his servant, Harikesha. He would say, he went through the school of hard knocks. He was beaten again and again by the material energy. And that definitely, that can be a big impetus to coming to Krishna consciousness. Right? People come in distress. It's one of the main reasons why people take shelter of the Krishna consciousness movement, out of distress, because the material energy is giving us so much trouble, so many pains, that we come to Krishna consciousness just to get relief from all that stress, all that distress. Yeah, any other comments from the other members of the class? We want to get free from all of these designations, designating ourselves. That we designate ourselves as Hare Krishnas, We have these designations. Are we devotee? Are you a devotee? You designate yourself. But we have to identify ourselves on the spiritual platform. Identify ourselves as servant of Krishna. And then the senses are purified. Yes. So any other comments or questions on this?
Hare Krishna, Maharaj.
Yes, Prabhu?
Maharaj, I have a question because the previous discussion, what we discussed, probably it could be a continuation to that. Or when we have some such issues in the Grihastha, life, the main issue what probably I would be facing is that whenever some such issue comes, actually I'm a bit what do you call, worried or bit concerned to discuss with somebody because I'm not feeling comfortable to open up to somebody that I have such issue, because neither I'm able to go to my juniors or I'm able to go to some seniors, because I'm not able to find somebody who is so comfortable for me to open up that in such a state that, like, the so-called seniority, I'm just saying, so-called seniority could be some prestigious issue, what people will think of me. This type of, maybe, it can be connected with these designations also, what we're discussing now. So,
Yes, definitely can be a problem.
how to, I'm a bit fixed, because even now I was discussing with my wife. My wife is also attending this class. So that when we are, even when she goes to somebody, she has to talk about me. When I go to somebody, I have to talk about her. So it could be, affecting mutually. These type of things. Like, of course, every family has their own issues, some problems, some misunderstandings. So, I really don't know. I'm not able to find somebody whom I can be so comfortable to discuss such things. How can we solve such issues, Maharaj?
Very difficult, yes, certainly. How to solve such issues? Any suggestions from any other members in the class?
Maharaj, can I join?
Yeah, I think you have a
If
good,
some,
you're
then I
qualified.
will talk. I'll wait. I'll wait if you want me to.
No, yeah, you probably have more experience in these things than me.
Maharaj, something that my Shiksha Guru always tells, if there is a conflict, if there is some struggle where we cannot share with anybody, actually I was going through something that, one senior really humiliated me. And my counselor knew it was not my mistake. And see, my counselor said, just say sorry and come back. And my Shiksha Guru, within 2 weeks, he gave a class and he said, you should write to Krishna. You write that I want a loving relationship. And I was like, I don't want to have a loving relationship with that Prabhu. I was so upset. I cried. Nobody makes me cry. See, Maharaj, we are from a respectable family. Nobody humiliates you to that extent that if I'm crying in front of public, in front of 10 people. And I was really humiliated. And I was very upset with that Prabhu. But, because my Shiksha Guru said, you're right. And I wrote to Krishna that, not loving relation, at least harmonious, neutral, at least I should not have that feeling of any grudge against him, because I want to go back to you. If I come with that heart with you, you will also not accept me. So I wrote to Krishna, and you can't believe it, within 2 weeks until today, who really, said something, he admires me. He just admires me. I don't know, Of course, and I mean, I did some services, and service is something that really changes our heart to a great extent. So if there is a relationship, if we just write to Krishna, genuinely that, I want to come back, I am selfish. So I want to improve. With all this anarthas, I will not come to you. So can you help me? So, and he really does that. I have seen like magic when we write to Krishna, a personal letter to him. That really helps. And sometimes, yeah, I mean, all this, what do they, upadhi and all. You go like this, you do a trial of your dress. You go in the trial room. This does not fit, and this is uncomfortable. When you see there's some issue, you step back. I know that always there may not be an opportunity to step back, but always if you keep training juniors, then you can take a step back that, oh, I am feeling that within that, I'm getting pride, or, I'm taking too much, really, I am identifying too much with my position, you step back. And then again, get more energy, do a little more sadhana or whatever in the 9 process of devotions, and then go back again. Or you can take a break. Nobody has to continuously do a service, because at the end of the day, what is the quality of your heart is also very important. If it is not to the mark that Krishna will love you, because we feel that the service will not go without me. Oh, how will the temple run and all? It's not like that. Krishna will arrange some person. Always there will be some person. So always we have to keep training our juniors, and keep always evaluating. My Shiksha Guru says, write a journal so that you are aware. It's like, we have a crumble paper. When you journal, it just opens up. You know what is the, even if you have to do a calculation. If I have big numbers in my head and I'm doing it, I will go wrong. But if you write it down, oh, 2,700 and this, plus this and this and this, when I write it down, things are sorted. I know what is, I mean, I come to more awareness. And then there is always a prayer that, okay, now I can see it. Because even as a mother, I due to ego or something, I might get upset with my children because I want to show off. My children are so nice, they're saying nice shlokas. But then when I write, why did I get upset? I can identify, yes, this today it was sheer ego. I wanted to, show the, devotee community, or, I was just going out of my physical capacity to do things. So when you write it down, I was just tired, that's why there was a fight. Because there are small things that if we think that, we can figure it out just like that, when it's difficult. But when we write, it's like so much crystal clear. And then at least you are in awareness, and then there is an acceptance, then there is an aspiration, I want to be better. So always, we have to share it with somebody, or at least with Krishna. If there is nobody, like Tichandra Prabhu said, it's very embarrassing then to have that feeling within and share it with somebody. But then always, if you write to Krishna, there is instant reciprocation, I feel.
Very nice. Thank you.
Yes.
Very interesting. That's certainly practical advice. We can write down our situation, our problems, our thoughts, and the battles which we're going through. It's very nice. Put it into words, write it down, get it clear what's going on. And be humble also. Go through with it, whatever situation we're put into. Just accept it. As Mariji said, somebody was accusing her for something which she didn't do. But she didn't say anything. She just kept quiet. And in course of time, the whole situation changes. And so Srila Prabhupada often would do like that also. If somebody would be critical of him, he would just simply accept it and go on. And gradually the people would change. Then they would become favorable and support Prabhupada. So it's important. Yes?
I want to bring one more point here.
Yeah.
That is, if you are in trouble, then you can meditate upon a pure devotee you know. Suppose your spiritual master or any god uncle. So you can pray to him and he will just send you immediate answers. At least in front of his photograph or like that, you can pray in your own altar. that I'm passing through these difficulties. So he will immediately give you some answer. A pure devotee.
Do you do like that? Do you pray to your spiritual
Yes,
master?
I got some answers like that. I got some problems solved like that.
Very nice. Yeah, that's very good. And Srila Prabhupada also told one devotee, I heard from the devotee was like saying to Prabhupada, how can I always be with you? And Prabhupada said, you just go to my Vyasa-san and you sit there in front of my Vyasa-san and you can speak, you can tell me. I remember as a new devotee, when I joined the Krishna consciousness movement, I joined in London and we had deities. We were the only temple with big Radha Krishna deities at the time, and Radha Landanishwara. And we had the program every Sunday. Every devotee was allocated 10-minute time to go and sit in front of the deities and give a report to the deities about what service we'd done and what we were planning to do and like that. I thought it was very helpful to develop a relationship with the deities. Nowadays, they don't have these kind of programs, but I certainly enjoyed it. I thought it was very valuable to be going in front of the deities and talking to them and telling them about my service. So talking to someone, talking to the deities, that's also very good.
That works a lot. And this Sundari Mataji was telling, you write something you new you get in your life, some new experience or something new you want to introduce in your life. You keep writing, and Krishna sees those things, and he will also help you. That is a thing.
Yeah, very nice. Very good habit to do. Writing. Prabhupada said you should always write your realizations. It doesn't matter published or not. That's not
something
important.
new that comes, something you have to overcome like that, some hurdle you have to cross, and you're planning how you're going to do it like that.
Yes,
You
yes.
plan it, you write it.
Okay.
And you get a relationship also. This will work.
Right. We want to cultivate a relationship.
HHB Prabhu wanted to say something. I think he raised his hand. And HHB Prabhu, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Yeah, so Adichandra Prabhu's question is really interesting. And that's because, not to make him feel bad, Prabhu, it's just that at that age also, and also with that seniority, when everyone looks up to that person also sometimes feels that even I want someone to either reveal my mind to. That we even see in the life of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that he had a servant with him all the time, even though he was the Supreme Lord. And Sarup Damodar Goswami. Yeah, Sarup Damodar. So, like, they had someone with whom they can reveal their mind to. And it is actually an issue, at least from what I have observed, on what people have also mentioned in today's session and also various other sessions. And what Sundari Gopi Mataji said and Murti Shri Mataji said, I agree to that we should be journaling. Journaling really helps in cases when we don't really have someone to reveal our minds. And also, if you pray to the Lord, that also helps equally. Especially in my life, when obviously I'm young, so it's not right to equate it. But when I shifted from Dubai to Mayapur, it was a complete change. With completely different people. So getting new friends was a little difficult. I will not say very easy. But Krishna's mercy, Krishna arranged something for me, and I'm very happy. Yet, it's not always a very simple path. Sometimes we do get friends, and with whom we reveal our mind, everything, and suddenly they just backbite us, which is very common, at least in my generation. So, to conclude, it would be that we should actually be following the 6 exchanges of love. By that I mean that if we know someone who we can potentially think that we can reveal our mind to, then at least we should start developing some relation. We should start talking to him, or at least have some talk of a sort of relation with him. It may or may not work. That especially I'm saying for those who are seniors, because it's very difficult. I've also seen my father also sometimes struggling with that. Very hard for that age to really get someone with whom one can reveal the mind to. But we should still try. It's like the famous saying goes, God helps those who help themselves. So if we try that, dadadi pratigrunnati goyamakyadi. So if you do that dadadi pratigrunnati, or inviting them home for lunch, or something like that, then maybe one fine day we might get someone with whom we can reveal our mind to. Just some 2 sets. I'm the youngest in this group, so I'm sorry. I'm trying my best from whatever I know, sharing.
No, it's very nice. We're happy to hear from you. We want to hear more from you. Please, don't hesitate to contribute. We always like to hear from you. We want to hear from the younger people.
Yeah, only age is juniority. In knowledge, everything he will be senior to us.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Thank you all the devotees for sharing your realizations and advices. Definitely, I'll also try to sometimes, probably it could be applicable to many, maybe so it may be helpful for somebody else also. So let's try anyway. Hare Krishna, thank you so much. Hare Krishna Maharaj. Maharaj, your advice on this? Maharaj, okay, I heard it from devotees, but
Yes, giving up designations. We have to increase our hearing and chanting. And I think that's the real key, The more we can increase our hearing and chanting, then the more we can easier it is to come to the transcendental platform. So focus has to be like that. Try to keep ourselves always absorbed in some transcendental activities. So best is hearing and chanting. And we're so fortunate in the modern age, there's so much opportunity is there to hear. The mobile networks and all the recordings, wonderful kirtan ears. We're so fortunate. We have to take advantage.
Yes, Maharaj. First, when I asked you that how can I improve myself, that Bhakti Vaibhava time, you advised me to hear. Are you hearing? You asked me. Then I started hearing. When I started hearing, it has definitely given me a good platform. Sometimes good communication from Guru and Krishna I get, because the more I do it, the more better the communication is.
Jai.
So I'm very grateful to you. And I'll also ask, I'm very eager to ask you now this, what I shall do to improve myself more from this point.
Just keep hearing and chanting. That's it. Just continue that hearing and chanting. That's it. There is a goal. That is the means, and that is the end also. It is both the means, it's the prayer, and it's the answer to our prayers. Like chanting Hare Krishna.
More and more.
Okay, so I think we have to stop here tonight. So we'll be back next week. We'll begin on Monday. Okay, so we'll see you all then. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna
Thank you,
Prabhu.
Maharaj.